Good evening. It's Monday, May 19th. This is Athens City Council regular session. It's pretty close to 7 o'clock. We have all members present tonight, so we obviously have a quorum. We have a set of minutes from the regular session held May 5th, 2014. Could we have a motion to accept those minutes, please?
So moved. Second.
Okay. All those in favor of accepting the minutes from May 5th signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The minutes are accepted. Communications? Anybody? Council members?
I just have a reminder that on May 31st is the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day, which will be at the community center, and I believe that's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So for anyone who has a whole sundry of things ranging from 17-inch tire rims or smaller, and there'll be a $2 fee that accompanies that, all the way down to hazardous household chemicals, batteries,
Light bulbs.
old smelly shoes, you name it. It's
I don't think that's
okay. Cell phones is in there, fluorescent lights. And this is a good deal. This is all part of the SEP.
Okay. Reports, communications from other elected officials. Mayor Weil?
Well, that's one of the things I was going to cover. I guess that's most of it, really. Again, 31st of May. Let's see other things. I'm not sure if we're having a public hearing. I was going to ask the clerk of council whether we're going to have one for CDBG. I'll check on that before next week.
I have that on my calendar.
You don't have it on your calendar, okay. I believe the critical infrastructure CDBG, I think, is the 2nd of July for the county, at the county commissioner's office. I'll check on that to be sure. And this is just a second hearing of what we do with the critical infrastructure side of it. The allocation, I thought we'd have one in-house for that. Other communications, let's see. I did Trex, the Bluff Bakery license. That was last week. Really, the form is now new and different. All I have to do is fill out Section B, so just to let you know. And I think that covers everything I have to cover at this point.
Auditor Heck?
No report.
You have a approval for some minutes for reports coming up later
Okay.
tonight.
Good. Yeah. Second meeting of the month.
Law Director?
No report, Mr. President.
Okay. We will move on to ordinances for third reading. Ordinance 3314, an ordinance closing a portion of Court, Union, Washington, and State Streets on Saturday, June 21st to 1 a.m. on Sunday, June 22nd, 2014 for Boogie on the Bricks, a family music and arts festival. Introduced by Councilmember Pappy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to adopt 3314.
Second.
So the next the next four ordinances after this also have to do with Boogie on the Bricks. This is an annual event that the city has closed Court Street for. It's a great event for people who enjoy music. There is an arts component that is also part of that, and this year there's also more of a family area for children as well.
This ordinance is speaking specifically to the streets that portions will be closed. All those in favor of ordinance 3314 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ordinance is adopted. Move on to ordinance 3414. This ordinance establishes a glass-free drinking container zone during the Boogie on the Bricks Family Music and Arts Festival, Saturday, June 21st to 1 a.m. Sunday, June 22nd, 2014. Also, Councilmember Packey.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to adopt 3414.
I can second that as well.
And this is, ordinance is specifically to designate this as a glass-free drinking zone.
All those in favor of approval of ordinance 3414 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Ordinance is approved. Adopted. Ordinance 3514, an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code, Title 7, Section 7.05.26B1, which is city garage metered parking rates and regulations, on Saturday, June 21st to 1 a.m. Sunday, June 22nd, 2014, for Boogie on the Bricks, a family music and arts festival. Member Pappy.
I move to adopt 3514. And again, this is an encouragement for everyone to come down and enjoy this event and have free parking in the garage.
All those in favor of adoption of ordinance 3514 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. This ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 3614, an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code, Chapter 11.04, vending, peddling, and soliciting, to allow vending in a designated area on June 21st and 22nd, 2014, during the Boogie on the Bricks Family Music and Arts Festival. Again, Member Packard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to adopt 3614.
Second?
I strongly encourage folks to attend so that they can support these businesses that vend during this event. Great Athens food and beverage.
And this includes the arts
Arts as
component
well.
also, I
Yes.
believe, yeah.
And nonprofits.
I'm sorry.
And nonprofits also.
Okay, all those in favor of adoption of ordinance 3614 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, this ordinance is adopted. And ordinance 3714, an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code, Section 13.04.10, unnecessary noise in the downtown area on June 21st, 2014, for Boogie on the Bricks, a family music and arts festival. Member Pappy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to adopt 3714. This is an obvious ordinance that we have to suspend for these types of events because it is live music.
This timing ends at midnight? It doesn't
I
say.
believe so.
I
They
believe
shut
so,
it
and then
down.
there was an hour or so for cleanup.
I believe so, yeah. So, all those in favor of ordinance 3714 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All the Boogie on the Bricks have been adopted. Now we have several ordinances for first reading. Ordinance 4214, an ordinance authorizing street paving and repairs, project number 284. Member Pappy again.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend 4214.
Second.
Yes, no,
Second.
yes, okay. Who said second? Ms. Piper.
A couple of us.
Couple seconds there.
Okay,
2 or 3.
go ahead, Member Pappy.
Okay. We're moving to suspend so that street repairs can be on target to begin as needed. This ordinance is for the amount of $300,000. $150,000 is taken out of the street fund, 220, and the other $150,000 is from the street rehabilitation fund. This is our normal yearly repairs that are in the queue for this year. Andy has usually a list of streets to be done. So it's our normal paving projects, yearly paving projects.
Okay, the ordinance has received suspension vote, and so now adoption for ordinance 4214. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Jim, excuse me, I don't know if we voted on suspension.
You know, you're right. I don't think we did.
Oh, I think we seconded, but we didn't vote.
Right,
You're right.
right.
Yeah. All those in favor of suspending the rules, let's back up a moment. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The rules have been suspended, and the ordinance has been adopted. A little backwards, but it works. Okay. Ordinance 4314. Member Papiet.
Mr. President, I move to suspend 4314.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of suspension of this ordinance 4314 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Really? The ordinance is suspended. Member Pappy, go ahead.
We need to move forward on this ordinance because one of the bridges that is going to be inspected is part of the Richland Avenue project. And what this ordinance does is it enters us into an agreement with the Ohio Department of Transportation for their bridge inspection program. And they can inspect bridges better than what our Engineering and Public Works Department can in terms of load rating and certain infrastructure issues. So we have decided that, as we discussed last week at our committee meeting, to move forward with this program through the Ohio Department of Transportation.
Okay, the rules have been suspended for this ordinance. All those in favor? We need to move ahead.
I move that we adopt.
And a second for adoption?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of adoption of ordinance 4314 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. This ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 4414, an ordinance closing a portion of Court Street on Friday, June 6th and July 25th, 2014 for a cruise-in and declaring an emergency. Member Patton.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we suspend 4414.
Second.
Because?
We need to suspend due to the fact that June 6th is the first cruise-in, and we don't believe we can get everything read by then.
So we have a motion to suspend the rules on ordinance 4414. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The rules have been suspended. Member Pappy.
I move to adopt 4414.
Second.
Mr. President.
All those in favor of adoption of ordinance 4414 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. This ordinance is also adopted. Remember, these are ordinances for first reading. Ordinance 4514, an ordinance closing a portion of Court Street between Washington and Carpenter on Saturday, July 19, 2014, from 10 a.m. to midnight for Ohio Brew Week. Member Pappy.
We discussed last week in committee all of the necessary ordinances to close Court Street for Brew Week. Again, it is Saturday, July 19th, and Brew Week is, this is at the very end of the Brew Week festivities. It's called the Last Call, and it's an open festival type of event, and we close Court Street for this.
So, ordinance 4514 closes the street. Ordinance 4614, an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code Title 7, Section .7.05.26 B1, City Garage Metered Parking Rates and Regulations on Saturday, July 19, 2014, from 10 a.m. to midnight for the Ohio Brew Week event. Member Pappy?
Thank you. Again, this encourages people to park and come downtown and enjoy this event for free of charge at the parking garage.
And ordinance 4714, an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code, Chapter 11.04, vending, peddling, and soliciting, to allow vending in a designated area on July 19, 2014, during the Ohio Brew Week event. Member Pappy.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the necessary ordinance that allows vendors to participate in this event and sell their wares.
Mayor?
Question?
I would point out the one of the differences that from this and the other events we've had is that this is going from Carpenter to East to Washington, so it's a little bit different. It's further north in general. Just so you know, you have maps that diagram that. Just to observe that.
Thank you for pointing that out. That's a good.
Am I correct in remembering that in years past, the stage had been closer this direction?
Usually this overlapped with the other event, Boogie, and that was usually going from State down to Washington or to all the way to Union, depending on the size of the venue. So this is further north. This moved 1 block north, so it's a little bit different in terms of structure.
Yeah, last year it went from Carpenter to State Street, and the stage was on the State Street end.
Yeah.
So this year it's been flip-flopped with the addition of a block, so it goes from Carpenter all the way up to Washington.
Thank
And
you.
the stage will be set at,
It will be set at the foot of the Armory, but not that far. It'll be on Court, but right up there on Carpenter.
Carpenter will be,
Okay.
have access.
Correct.
With traffic.
You should have maps on the back of your...
Yeah.
We do.
Okay.
The next ordinance dealing with Brew Week is ordinance 4814, an ordinance suspending the enforcement of Athens City Code, section 13.04.10, unnecessary noise in the downtown area on July 19, 2014 for Ohio Brew Week. Member Pappy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, we do need to suspend the enforcement of our noise ordinance, and we're all now pretty clear where the stage will be, but there will be considerable music heard in the area, the downtown area.
And ordinance 4914, an ordinance establishing a glass-free drinking container zone during the Ohio Brew Week event. Member Pappy.
Again, this is part of our safety concerns at these type of events to have a glass-free drinking zone. And I believe, as the person who spoke for Brew Week last week said, they have their own cups, commemorative cups for the event. So that's part of the fun.
This ordinance doesn't have the date in it. Does it mean they're going to be,
The ordinance has the date.
June
Does
19th,
it?
July 19th.
okay. Just this didn't, okay. Okay, I'm sorry. And we'll move along. Ordinance 5014, an ordinance declaring certain vehicles no longer needed for a municipal purpose and declaring an emergency. Member Pappy again.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend 5014.
You have a
Second.
Second?
And the reason is that several of these vehicles are ready to be moved out and moved on, and we'd like to clear up the lot.
As well as the fact that it's already put in the paper that the bid deadline is the 27th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we have good reason then to, all those in favor of suspension signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, the rules are suspended. Member Pappy,
So, Mr. President, I move to adopt 5014.
Second?
all those in favor of adoption of ordinance 5014 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay. Okay, then the newspaper has it right. Okay, thank you. Ordinance 5114, an ordinance amending Athens City Code Title III, Administrative Positions, Chapter 3.07, Administrative Departments, Boards and Commissions, Section 3.07.74A, Establish of an Environment and Sustainability Commission, Member Hall.
Michelle?
We talked about this at committee last week. It's fairly common for new commissions to come forward with suggested changes to their ordinance and the city code that oversees them. The commission has suggested that because of the work that they're doing and how you look at sustainability, that it would be a fair thing to do is to have the ability of a couple of the commission members to be people who live outside of the city. So change the wording to allow for 5 members to be electors of the city and 2 members may reside outside of the corporation limits.
Oh, Mayor.
It's a pretty wise decision since the environment seems to go outside the city limits at times.
Yes. And that's what I think they're finding, and they want to get more inclusion and working with the county
More
and-
regional
and stuff. So,
Scope of view.
Remember, these are first readings. However, Ordinance 5214,
I'm not
an
suspending.
ordinance amending the 2014 appropriation ordinance. Member Nisley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend ordinance 5214.
Okay, we have a motion to
we went
suspend.
one whole one without suspending.
We have a motion to suspend the rules on Ordinance 5214. Member Nisley, could you?
The purpose for suspending being that we have several of these payments, including some parking garage refunds, where the payments have been made and we need to make the bookkeeping transactions for accounting purposes.
Okay. All those in favor of suspending the rules for Ordinance 5214 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay. The rules have been suspended. Member Nisley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move adoption of ordinance 5214.
Second?
And this ordinance has 2 sections to it. The first section has 3 different kinds of transactions for payment of purchase of things. The first 2 being $21,091.12 to the Law Enforcement Trust Fund, and this is to cover purchase of our Marks radio system that we discussed last week. And what this will be doing will be replacing an older VHF system for our police cars that isn't really working well now. And so this gives them a dash mount mobile radio and antenna unit where they'll be able to do communication with other law enforcement agencies in the region and around the state. There's another portion, $17,098.11 to the Drug Law Enforcement Fund, also to cover that purchase of the Marks radio system. The second one in Section 1 is $235,000 to the TIF Fund 593, Transaction Class 300, and this covers the school share and county auditor fees for our TIF Fund tax incremental financing. And then another part of that TIF, the Tax Incremental Financing Fund, is $250,000, which will be for a transfer to the East State Street Debt Fund to help pay for the debt on the improvements to East State Street. The parking garage funds that I mentioned just a moment or 2 ago, we need $300 appropriated to the Parking Garage Fund 730, Transaction Class 600, and this is for reserved parking refunds. And we've had several of them, so we need to make sure we don't have a negative balance in that account. And then Section 2 of the Appropriation Ordinance transfers $250,000 from our TIF fund over to the East State Street Debt Fund.
For Ordinance 5214, we voted to suspend the rules, and we have a motion to accept the ordinance. All those in favor of accepting ordinance 5214 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. The ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 5314, an ordinance providing for the issuance of $100,000 of notes by the City of Athens, Ohio in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying part of the cost of acquiring a transit bus and declaring an emergency. Member Nisley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Request that we move to suspend the rules for ordinance 5314.
Second.
The purpose being, in the broad sense, for the health, safety, and welfare. We have discussed purchase of an acquisition of light transit vehicle and a minivan, and we have just learned that there are only a limited number of chassis available for this, and so we're going to order and be able to complete the order and have the parts. We need to do it now.
Member Nisley. Yeah, this $100,000 is also going to be reimbursed to the city as grant money. But since it's a reimbursement, we will have to pay for the bus up front. And so we need to have this money in place to pay that invoice and then submit for reimbursement. So that's why. And then the mayor could probably tell you what the city share is. But
So we have a motion to suspend the rules on this on ordinance 5314. All those in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, the rules have been suspended. Member Nisley again.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move adoption of ordinance 5314.
Second.
And as Auditor Hecht explained, this is for the note for borrowing the money to purchase the two vehicles. And we've gotten a good rate. The auditor has arranged with Hocking Valley Bank for a 0.3% interest on the loan. We will be reimbursed. We can file for reimbursement, as I understand, 30 days in advance of vehicle delivery. So we've already, as I remember, appropriated $48,000.
Approximately 20/80 mix, and we're also getting a light van as well, so we got a light transit bus and a van
Right.
into the mix.
Okay. All those in favor of adopting ordinance 5314 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, this ordinance is adopted. Okay. And we have a resolution for first reading, Resolution 0914. A resolution declaring it necessary to replace existing curb and sidewalks deemed in poor condition as part of the West Union Street Infrastructure Improvements Project and declaring an emergency. Councilmember Pappy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think we need to read this, don't we? Or no? No. Yes. No, we don't need to read it. Okay, we did discuss this at committee last week, and this is the sidewalk portion of the Union Street Infrastructure Improvement Project, which will be occurring this summer. And what's important to note is that part of the cost of the improvements of the sidewalk is assessed to the owners of the property. We have been doing this now pretty regularly with our improvement projects. The total cost of the sidewalk and curb construction is presently estimated at $145,485. The city is in charge of the curbs and usually entrances and exits at crossings. So currently we are looking at the cost of the assessments being around $55,000. The whole entire street project is looking to cost about $973,538. So this resolution allows us to begin the assessment portion in terms of the linear foot of those properties. So that's what we are looking at this point.
Okay, thank you, Member Pappy. Moving on to other announcements and some other business. Could we have a motion to accept the auditor's financial report for the month of April 2014?
I'll move. Motion.
We have a motion? Okay. Did we have a second?
Second.
Somewhere? Okay. We have a motion to accept the auditor's report for April 2014. All those in favor of acceptance signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Okay. The motion is accepted. And our next issue of business is some appointments to the Environment and Sustainability Commission. Member Paul?
Thank you. I'd like to bring two appointments before council for the commission, the Environment and Sustainability Commission, which needs to come up with some fun acronym, I think it's. One is Tess Finney.
I'm sorry?
Tess Finney. She's a graduate student at Ohio University, and she's worked before with the Office of Sustainability. The second person is Meredith Price Mullins. Sorry, I've been driving all day. Who is a high school science and biology teacher, and she lives in the city. Both live in the city. So, I move that we accept their gracious offer of volunteering for the Sustainability Commission. So, which our commissions would not survive without the time and energy the gracious people have given us for this city, and I just want to say thank you up front. So I move that we appoint them. Whatever we do.
Do we have a second? Okay. We have two appointments to the Environment and Sustainability Commission, Tess Finney and Meredith Price Mullins. We have a motion to accept these appointments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. These appointments are very much appreciated. Okay. And just an announcement. City Council has been trying to arrange a luncheon with President McDavis of the Ohio University, and we now have a date set, unless we have a tremendous amount of disagreement, for Tuesday, June 17th at 12 o'clock at Baker Center. Please let Debbie Walker, our clerk, know if that's not good for you, and let us know as soon as possible so we can make any changes that we have to make. Okay. Also, Monday coming up is Memorial Day. We would not normally hold a meeting on a holiday, but we could have one on Tuesday following that Monday, which is a committee night. And does anybody have a committee meeting that is urgent? Really urgent.
Really, really urgent.
If
We're
seriously,
all looking at you, Chris.
All of us.
All of
And
us.
I look to the auditor and the mayor.
we can have a short meeting. We really can.
We're trying to put together a meeting with the auditor this week. It's normally have it on Wednesdays at 2:30. I think what I'm hearing is that we're trying to move it either to Tuesday at 2:30 would work, or Thursday at 2:30. Do I hear a consensus one way or the other? tomorrow works for me.
All right, just make it tomorrow then.
Tuesday works for me.
Tuesday works.
Okay,
for us.
Tuesday at 2:30.
Okay.
So we're going to have a little meeting together, and we may have a committee for next Tuesday as well. So
Okay.
We'll know by then.
we'll let you know.
Once we meet.
Okay, before the end of the week, easily.
Oh,
Or
okay.
Midway through the week.
Okay.
Tomorrow's meeting is just.
And
the,
so the clerk will email us or something? Are there other committees that feel that we need to meet seriously? Anything urgent? Okay. So we'll wait and see what the treasurer's wishes are. Okay.
The auditor.
The auditor, should I say. And now we have opportunity for citizens to speak on legislative items, city services that were not covered on the agenda. We've dealt with every possible thing, I think. Seriously, anybody need to add anything? Okay. We are adjourned then at 7:37.